Hi guys, this is Coach Keisha speaking, giving you love, hugs, and realness. And as always, as I always say, if you like what you hear in this video, please hit the like and subscribe button below and we'll get right into it. So, wow, today I had a busy, productive day. So what I did was I got dressed and put some clothes on, and then I went to my hometown and a few neighboring cities to just introduce myself, pass out flyers, business cards. It was a longer process than I expected because you have to get approval to do that if you are a for-profit business. Long story short, I just really wanted to show my face, introduce myself to people, let them know what my services are, and what I provide and how I can be of service to others. It's always a process because in life coaching and in mentorship, it seems to be oversaturated. Well, it seems so with everyone who wants to offer an encouraging word or to offer advice. Mentoring takes a whole different animal. It takes on a different beast. And I was having a conversation with someone about it because a lot of times we're just up on these platforms on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and even Snapchat, and they're free apps. And so you get the impression, because you see so many people on it who want a voice or who have a voice now because, these apps are free, such as myself and many others, that we're just doing it to be seen. And that is not the case, especially with myself. So, what I was explaining is that this is something where my life became this, and it didn't happen overnight. It's something that has taken time to get to this point. So, when I was in middle school and in high school and in college, I was always a peer leader. I didn't think anything of it then because your teachers assign leadership to specific people, and then you have your peers that you speak to and you give them advice about whatever they're coming to you with, about how you would handle the situation or what may work for them. And so it was just a very it wasn't as personal for me then, because I didn't have any life experience. And so fast forward past college, well, in college, I had been through a few things. I had been physically abused by a past boyfriend of mine. He was jealous and possessive. And I let that go for a couple of years. And then just life in general, having children, a child, being married, marriage woes. And then things got really real. And so the turning point for me was ending my marriage and coming to live with family, not being able to get a job, and having to get on welfare. And that's where things got real, because how I saw myself versus what was actually happening in my life was a variance. I saw myself one way, but life was putting me through all of this. And it was a lot. I thank God for having a tribe. I had my family there for their support, friends. But it was just a journey that I had to walk some roads in that journey by myself, just me and God, and just trying to figure out what the next path is. And so it took me not a few months, a few years to really hone in on what I wanted to do and how I was going to take the next steps. And so in that, I was still working. I took a job and I was just, writing my feelings down while working, on breaks. And, that was my therapy. And talking to different people who were going through if not similar situations or just trying to make it through whatever they were going through in their lives. I told my story, just as a form of sharing, because going back and forth and sharing with people can be very therapeutic. And someone said, have you ever thought about telling your story? And I never thought about it. I didn't think about any type of impact, what that would mean, any of it. And so it was in the back of my mind. I never revisited it at that time. And so years went by, and I was always listening to people who were going through personal struggles. I was going through mine, and I had mapped out a few things that I wanted to do, like go back to school and change careers and eventually write a book. And as I was talking to people, more people, different people, they all had the same thing. You should write a blog. You should talk to people. You can help people. You've been helping them. And I was doing it because I just love to do it. It's something that I've always loved to do. I've always been a talker. I've always been a helper. I've always been somewhat of a fixer. And for a long period of time, I couldn't fix myself. And that's the craziness of it. We have sometimes the answers for everyone else, and we don't have the answers for ourselves. It took me years to come up with the answers that worked for me. And so finally, a friend of mine, a childhood friend of mine, recommended that I come to a meeting. And I met an amazing coach who later became my mentor. And it helped me get the confidence to tell a story that I already told a million times. Some parts of the story of my life are completely embarrassing for me, and some parts are dark, and some parts are scary, and some parts are uplifting, and some parts are endearing, and some parts are just magnificent. So, my story is a lot like other people's story, where it's just not one straight line. We're all over the place, and there's beauty in ashes. Beneath every piece of dirt that we've been through or experienced or are currently experiencing, there was a seed planted beneath that dirt. And depending on how you water that seed is how the tree will grow. You thought about that? Because we all plant seeds in our lives. And so the seed that I planted is the seed of hope, the seed of being able to use my story to inspire and to encourage others. I never knew what it was to put the pieces together to map it out, because stories don't always start from I was born here, grew up here, worked here, and died here. Sometimes we have to take you to where we are right now so that the entire story makes sense. And so I say that to say, even in my own story, when people met me going through a separation and divorce, my thought process went back to my childhood, and then it had to fast forward to where I am now. So that's how the story made sense. It didn't make sense just giving it to you from the beginning, because the story wouldn't have added up. It wouldn't have made sense. It would have been a boring story, but we all have a story. And so today it felt good to meet people who understand where I'm coming from and wanting to help others. Because when we meet people who are going through something in the middle of a storm, they can't always see their way through. I know when I was going through the biggest of my storms, and I think it lasted, years. Well, I know it lasted years. When we meet in person, I'll tell you how many years it lasted, but I can say this much. In the years that I went through my storm, I never thought it was going to end. I never thought that there was a way out. I never thought that I had options. And so what happens when you speak to a coach, when you have a mentor, when you have an accountability person, when you have a therapist, whoever, or trusted friend, whoever you choose to speak with, has to be a good listener, but they also have to have vision. And it doesn't mean their vision for you, but their vision to help you get to the highest point that you can get to have you have that awakening. We all need that. And so with me building Coach Keisha Speaks, it's me helping others become their best selves. You know, I don't just work with women because, believe it or not, men can feel discouraged, uninspired, despair. They go through things with divorce and breakups as well. They go through things in the workplace and in their relationships and marriages. I help them too because men need a voice as well. They need someone to hear them out. Sometimes when they're giving me the male point of view, I can help them sort through that and give them a female's point of view. Because I'm not a man, I can't think like a man, but I can tell you how it's interpreted from the other gender being female, which is who I am. I work with teenagers. I'm a mother of a teenager, so I can't help other kids if I'm not helping my own. And with my son, we've strengthened our relationship because, you know, he was 9 going on 10 when I first was separated. So we had to go through a lot of transitions together. We had to strengthen our communication. I had to open my ears to hear things that I didn't necessarily think I wanted to hear or thought I was strong enough to hear in order to become a better parent, in order to be able to love him in a way that he needed to be loved, to show him that he was loved. And children need support as well. I go back to my own childhood, and I said this to him. I was a middle kid. You know, I say that often, and I don't mean that in terms of lineage because I'm the oldest child. What I mean by a middle kid is I wasn't necessarily bullied, and I didn't bully others. I was that kid that was like under the radar. And so kids like me who are under the radar are typically forgot about because we're not problematic in that sense. And so sometimes we're forgotten about and we have to, you know, figure out our way on our own because our caregivers or our tribe of aunts and uncles and everybody else and parents are busy worrying and focusing on the other siblings or cousins or whatever. We typically are forgotten about because we're seen as the stronger one, or we're seen as the unproblematic one. And the biggest problem is that we're forgotten about. And so because we don't want to be a burden, we kind of tend to go inward and want to figure things out on our own. So I'm making this video just to let you know there is a place for everyone. We all deserve to be heard. We all deserve to have a voice. The platform for Coach Keisha Speaks is to give a voice to the voiceless, especially for marginalized groups, because we're taught that, you know, at least when I was growing up, that we didn't matter. You know, when I was in school, they only focused on the top 5%. You know, we had the children that were the problem children, and then we had the top tier, and then the middle kids were just, you figure it out. And so I made the decision when I went into college that I would be my own personal top tier person. I made a decision to start school and to finish. I was committed to that. And now, fast forward 20 years later, I'm committed to helping people voice their opinions, voice their thoughts, voice their feelings, and become their best selves. I'm committed to helping people who may not have a voice, lost their voice, or wasn't given a voice, a listening ear, support, someone that they can lean on to get through life's obstacles, someone who can thrive in the workplace, someone who can thrive in their personal, interpersonal relationships and their work relationships. That's who I am. I'm Coach Keisha Speaks, and I'm giving the love, hugs, and realness. What does the love, hugs, and realness mean? It means that I'm giving you a loving stance, but a real approach. I'm going to give it to you real. Some stuff are going to be hard pieces to hear. As I said to you before, some of the parts of my life were hard, you know, as with everyone. Sometimes, you know, even when I had a conversation with my son, hearing his real opinion and his real thought sometimes was hard to hear. But the realness in that is what makes me a better mother and makes me a better person overall. And so the realness comes from giving you that realness, but in a loving way. And then we can hug it out afterwards. I know it's COVID and everybody's keeping their distance, this process came out before COVID was a thing, but it's still a loving approach, giving you realness and hugging it out. And even if it's an air hug, to let you know that the support is here. So if you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, opinions, hit the comments below. Again, like and subscribe. If you want to reach out to me, my email is info@CoachKeishaSpeaks.com. Again, guys, it's Coach Keisha speaking. You have a great day, guys.